you're about to hear on this show are strictly those of the panel.
Today's digital landscape with the spread of false information can lead to dangerous outcomes. It's crucial for everyone to think critically and verify sources and reflect on the impact of what they share. Let's promote responsible communication to ensure that truth prevails and actions remain rooted in reality.
The following program is rated TV MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Hello. Welcome to After Hours. And tonight's guest is Dawn Solomon. She's been friends of mine for a couple years now on X, and that's how I met her. And she has a very interesting story that's been progressing as we've been friends. And I cannot wait for you guys to get to meet her and listen to her story. So welcome, Dawn. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I was very inspired when I first got to talk to you because of Chris, our mutual friend. And he was telling me about what had happened with you being ill, and that you were inspired basically through God to on a journey to try to find out how to cure yourself, since you couldn't find a doctor that could find out what was wrong with you. So I would love for you to tell everyone, starting at the beginning, basically, is, you know, in your own words, go through your journey of how you became what you are today and what you've accomplished over that period of time with your microscope that you got and that you started in your kitchen with. But I want to first say this is her X profile page, and we're going to kind of go down this as she talks, after she talks a little bit, and then we'll start going down the timeline when she starts getting into certain details, and then she could tell us what's on her timeline and why she put that on there and try to explain any of that. But also, I'm going to share her X profile link in the chat, and I really appreciate it. If anyone that's on X that's interested, to please go follow Dawn and go down her timeline and start looking and researching the things that she's got on there, as she's, you know, going to be explaining a lot of it. And also, she started doing spaces. It's a new thing that X does now, where people can open a room and bring in people that want to join, and they can get a microphone. So she can be talking about something. You could raise your hand with a little icon in there, and she can give you a mic, and then you can ask questions and talk and discuss about things. It's very awesomeness, I think. I love spaces. I think they're very informative, great way to hang out, meet people, listen to music, whatever it is you want to do. But she has decided to use it to talk about what she's been doing and how she's doing it. So I'm going to give it over to her and let her introduce herself and start giving you guys a kind of an idea of what Dawn has been up to the last couple of years. Go ahead, Dawn.
Thank you, Janet.
You're
So
welcome.
I'm Dawn Solomon, and I was in Colorado, but now I'm in Texas. But my journey started in Colorado. I had 2 Pfizer shots, and I got really sick. One, I went for like 3 months with allergic reaction, a severe allergic reaction that just nonstop to the bathroom. I mean, nonstop all day. And they couldn't stop it. And so after 3 months, it started to get better, and I thought I was over it all. And I got precancer that was a fast-growing precancer that was going to turn into invasive within a month. It could. And so with 3 months, I'm sorry. And so I went to a doctor that was going to cut out everything out of me, and I didn't feel comfortable with that. So I went to another doctor in Cleveland, and he was able to save everything. But he did have to do some surgery. And I still have to go in like every 3 months to make sure it's not come back yet.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, when I got home, and this was in 2022, it was like October, I was still feeling sick. I couldn't like hold up my cell phone. It hurt to hold my arms up like this high, right? And so my bones were hurting me. My mom had a precancer, or my mom has blood cancer. So, and I heard from like one of my friends, he was a really close friend of mine, and he's like, benzazole really works with cancer. And so I was like, oh, well, I want to try some of that, but I knew it was like a dog medicine. So I didn't want to take it without seeing how it would react in my blood first. So I bought a microscope, and that was probably like one of the best decisions in my life that I ever did. And that was like, it was like it was like $150 off of Marketplace, off of Facebook. And the
Uh-huh.
guy was like, he goes, "You don't know what kind of microscope you just got there, but you just got a really good deal." I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I was going home to look at the blood. And I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't even know what kind of microscope I had gotten at the time, and that it did dark field and all that. I was like using it for like a couple months and realized it had an oil that I could put on it. And I only learned that from like a YouTube station. So I was like, yeah. So I had to learn how to use the microscope through YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
So it's a learning journey for you also on how to use other applications like YouTube and stuff to investigate.
right.
As you learned to use your microscope, you learned how to use other apps to spread out your information, right?
Oh yeah, I didn't even know what blood looked like underneath. I didn't know it even moved under the microscope. When I saw it moving, I was like, "Holy crap, it moves!" So I had a lot to learn. I mean, a lot.
Yeah.
So it's taken me quite some time. But I was doing it all by myself because we had COVID, so everybody was stuck at home, right? And I didn't go back to work. I couldn't because of the cancer and everything else. And by the time I was able to get better, they had already fired me and let me go because of the time frame. So because I was out of work for like 6 months, 7 months. So, and they wanted me to start all over on because I worked at RTD, which was a bus operating company for the city, and I did routes with a bus, and so they didn't want to hold my position, so and with that company, you have to work yourself up the ladder, and once you do, you lose your seniority. So I was like, yeah, forget it, I don't want to go back. I don't want to start at the bottom all over again. So I didn't go back there. And my mission was like totally different because when I bought the microscope, I heard a voice from God. Okay. Because that's the only person I could say that it came from, because at first I didn't believe in God like 100%. And it was because of other things, my past. So, but that night I heard somebody tell me that my whole purpose for being born was to expose this. And I'm like, what is this? And that message to me was probably the most thing that drove me the most, was I needed to know what this was, right? Because to hear that, it was like, first you think, am I crazy or am I losing my mind, whatever, but no, I wasn't. And I told my family about it ahead of time too, that I heard that voice, and of course they kind of probably thought I was crazy too, but anyway. um so when I heard that voice, I went ahead and dove deep. Like, I wanted to know exactly what I was dealing with. I thought I was just dealing with like a little parasite at first or something, because when I put the blood on the slide, all right, so I put the blood on the slide and I see the blood moving, and I take the fenbendazole, and I wanted to see what it would do against the blood before I took it, because if it was going to clot it or something like that, I didn't want to take that pill, right?
Yeah.
So I took the fenbendazole, broke it up with some water, and I put the water next to the slide of glass, and it sucks it in there, right? And then
Yeah.
it would show me what the blood would do. And so I was like, oh, well, I see these little things hop off the blood and start like running off to the side, and I'm like, what is that, right? I was like, holy crap, that's a parasite. And so I take my sister's blood, I took my mom's blood, and my mom has a rare blood cancer, and her blood did the same thing, but they have her on chemo for like 2 years already. Okay. And I'm
Yeah.
like, holy crap, my mom's blood got normal too. And I'm thinking, okay, what's going on here? And I was like, how did we all get this? Because we're all from different homes, right? So, but we all have the same blood. And I knew like all of us couldn't have cancer and stuff. So I was like, something's going on here. And so I went to the store, I bought a COVID test, and I decided to test the water to see if COVID was in the water. And this is how gullible I am. I take the test, dip it in the water. It says negative. I go, oh, it's not in the water. And then I went on my day, right? And throw the test to the side. And I'm like, yep, COVID, it's not COVID. And then my sister, she's in my shower. She's like, I heard a voice too. And then I was like, oh, I'm not crazy no more, huh? She's like, no. She goes, he said to put the ivermectin in the water and look at the drops on their microscope in the water. And I was like, oh, you're right. It probably needs a host. So I went ahead and did that, and it lit up like the 4th of July. There was so many of them in just one drop of water. I
Hmm.
freaked out. I start calling the EPA, the health department. I mean, everybody under the sun, because I'm like, we got a parasite in the water and it's killing us. Because I seen the actual worm actually like spin the red blood cell and was eating it, right, on one of my
Yeah.
videos. So with that being said, I was like flipping out, and so I called everybody and everybody was like, okay, she's lost her mind. And I didn't know what any of this was. Okay. So I didn't know if it was COVID because everybody's saying COVID's a virus, right? So the whole time I'm thinking it can't be COVID because it's a parasite. But I didn't know what parasites look like in the blood. I had no idea. Okay. But I could feel these things moving underneath my skin. And I'll back up a little bit here because that's where it really started too, was that I didn't even know that this was related to COVID because I didn't know my precancer was, none of that. I was so naive and gullible to the vaccines that when I got the shots, I just thought I had that allergic reaction and that was it. I was done. Like I didn't
Mhm.
know that me not being able to walk and get out of bed was one of the, uh, conditions from it. I didn't know that getting the precancer was a condition from it. So a lot of those things that were happening, I did not know was tied in with COVID. Okay. So by this point, when I went to the doctor, I started feeling things like crawl underneath my skin. No, and I'm not even gonna lie, right? I felt things moving. And
Mhm.
I would tell my mom and them, like, what is that? You know, there's something on us. And at first I thought it was like scabies or something like that. I even broke up with this guy because I thought it was scabies. But and so anyways, I was like really traumatized. I thought my dog had like fleas or whatever or mites. All right. And so I took him to the vet. Yeah, I got him treated. I mean, I was just doing everything under the sun, but it wasn't any of that was moving on me. So when I saw the parasites on the blood, I freaked out and I went to the hospital. But before that, I went to the hospital, I started getting creative and I started taking, like I put 3 jars up, put some water in there and just like poked my finger and would drop blood in there every day, right? Because I figured if they're in my blood, I would have to like, hopefully one would get out of my finger, right? And I'd drop it in that jar. But I wind up having 3 of them like hatch in that jars and they were like growing. And I have some videos that are probably on my page as well that will show this. But I
Yeah.
yeah, so I hatched them and I put them all together and I called the hospital and I'm like, I have them in a jar. They're alive, right? And I said, one's eating one and the other one's watching it eat it. And I was like, so and he's like, well, come on into the hospital and we'll go ahead and treat you here. And I'm like, okay. So I get there. They don't treat me. They lock me up in a mental institution, like the
Oh,
72-hour
that's
hold,
terrible.
right?
Mhm.
And so he's
Yeah.
like laughing at me, telling me there's nothing under my skin biting me. And I was like, yes, there is. So, anyways, I got out that night early because another doctor came on board and she looked at my papers that I had, like on my phone, all the images that I had of them. And then she also
Mhm.
took the time to look at the jar. And so she released me, but I still was still put on a mental hold, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm going down your timeline a little bit. I'm trying to get down to where I remember one of the slides that you were showing me from the video, because that's something you didn't tell everyone about your microscope, is that you could take videos,
yeah, yes, I
live
can.
videos, while you're looking at it. And I
Right.
thought that was so cool that you had so many different videos of your own blood to show uh, it moving, what was in it, like this one right here. This was one of them. Uh,
Right.
and I thought it was pretty interesting. But that's why I want people to be able to go to your website, to your actual X profile, and go down your timeline and see all the stuff that you put on here.
So that first picture of that black, that was my blood when I got back from the so right, right, go down one more.
One more right
Um,
here. Mm-hmm.
yeah, that one right there was my blood when I got back from the Cleveland Clinic. So here I am, already got cancer taken out of me, and they're saying I was better, and that was my blood. So there's hardly any pink in there. So that was all the graphene that I discovered later was graphene that was in my blood.
Yeah.
So it almost like I shouldn't be alive, really. And when you look at that, I don't know how I am alive still to this day. Like that was pretty intense, their blood.
Yeah.
That other one that's go ahead.
Yeah, there's another video. I think it's down farther in here, where it you can see it in live action.
Okay.
Remember the one that I told you about, that I went down and found? Hold on, give me 1 second. Getting
Was it the
closer.
one of when I was when it
This one,
the graphene
graphene
removal?
and
Yeah.
fast play. I'm gonna click on this because I want
one herb. That's fast motion, of course. But
watch it
yeah, I
change.
just put a little bit, and it took all the black out of my blood. All the
Now,
graphene came out of my blood.
you notice the circles underneath there?
Yeah,
Like that's a lot.
Okay,
That's
so I
a
didn't
lot
know
of my
this
blood.
yet. I didn't know this yet, but
But
the
anyways, just
graphene and
thought I'd share that with
silkworm
you.
have
Love you
to
guys.
have, the silkworm will have the graphene on top of it to protect it, and it's its food line. So it helps, so the graphene was over the top of that silkworm. You could even see those circles until after I removed the graphene, and then you could actually see the silkworm in there.
Is it bigger?
So when you,
The
Hey, look.
medicine, just one
There you
medicine,
go.
one herb.
Uh,
And look at
and
the
see all
black
those
thread on
circles
the
left?
side. Isn't that amazing? Just that one
Okay.
herb. That's fast motion, of course.
Right here.
But
Bottom.
yeah,
Same
I just put a
across
little bit.
Yeah.
And it
So
took
those were the
all the
circles
black out
right
of my
there.
blood.
That was all
black
the
out of
silkworm
my blood.
underneath them.
That is amazing.
Yeah, see that I just thought that was so interesting when you were showing it to me and live when you were showing it the first time. This the one that they took down. You know, they
Right.
took the video because this was during all the COVID stuff, and we weren't allowed
Right.
to talk about any of this stuff. But now that more and more stuff's coming out and they're proving different things, I thought this was great for you to be able to talk about it. But you have so much information on your timeline that you did for yourself. You know what I mean?
That's somebody's leg right there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
right
That's
here.
somebody's yeah. And you could see the parasite in her leg. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
After taking the meds. Yeah, I was like dying on her. She's like, oh, she didn't even know it was there the whole time. And it's that big.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing. A lot of people don't know any of this
I know.
because they're not informed or don't know to talk to you. Just like what you were telling earlier, that you kept going to the doctor and you're saying this, that, and the other was going on with you. And they're like, we can't find anything. They were doing blood tests. They were doing all kinds of stuff, but none of them would look at it. That's the other thing that was intriguing to me was the fact that none of them would look at the blood live with you in the office.
Nope. No.
You know what I mean?
Matter of fact, one of the cancer doctors told me to stay out of the microscope. Yeah, he's like, don't go into the microscope anymore. But it tells me you did a wonderful job on these images. They're really good. And I said, well, do you want to see this other picture that I got of them running out of the blood? He goes, no, I don't need to. And I was like, yeah, I don't need to see you no more because you're not going to be able to help me if you're not willing to look at what's in my blood. Like, how are you going to help me get better if you don't know what's in my blood? Like, you're not going to do any good for me.
Now, can you start to explain a little bit that once you were trying to find the certain things, like when you told me about the little thing you pulled out of your skin and you put it in the jar, and then later on you came back to it, and that's after that is when you started using Grok to help you answer questions. So go ahead and start talking about that. I think that was very, very interesting, and that people would love to hear about it.
Which one? The one that I pulled out of my, like, the one that I made grow, or the ones that
the first one that you found when you had the little mouth and you thought it looked like a snake or something. Remember the very first one when you were telling me about it, and then when you went back to it, it was no longer a worm.
Right.
Remember?
So what happened was I had one that so it was dead, and I let it dry out for like 3 days, right? And so when I put it in water, because I was, picking up the sample and I was going to try to, because now I got to the point where at this point I was like, nobody's going to be able to help me because, for one, no doctors even believed me. All right. When I got out of the hospital from that psych hold, I went ahead and went to a lady, and because I wanted to make sure what I was seeing was what I was seeing. So I went to her and she told me that I had 17 worms with 1 drop of blood on a piece of glass. So she took a needle, poked my finger with a diabetes test kit, and put a piece of blood on the slide, put it under the microscope like I've been doing. And she said, you have 17 worms and 1 drop of blood. She goes, now think of how many is running through your body right now. And she goes, you'll be lucky if you live. And she wasn't like trying to be mean to me or nothing like that. She was just being real with me, right?
Yeah.
And so she did say that, and I have that diagnosis too. She said I was severely infested. So here's the hospital that didn't even do a parasite test on me, said I was crazy, locked me up, and then noted on my chart to where no other hospitals would even treat me, and said that I was nuts. And so here I had this lady tell me that I wasn't, and that what I was seeing was very true and very accurate. And then I was like, okay, now I need to do something for myself, because the stuff she gave me even wasn't working. So I couldn't, get better. And I was like, I don't want to die from these things. So I just went home and started throwing everything. And I have pills from years and years worth of going to the hospital. I'm 52 now. So at the time I was 51, 50, but I had lots of bottles that I never finished the medications. Right. So I had all kinds of stuff that I could test against these bugs, right? And I mean, I was testing everything under the sun. So I was
No, you
taking
told
that.
me you were grabbing stuff from all over your house just to do a
I
drop
was.
on your
I,
microscope.
I, I went and even because I knew that they were in the water. So I'm thinking my first step was I had to get clean water. All right. So I'm doing all these experiments with water. I even took a car battery with jumping cables, cut those off, had the copper exposed, put it in the water, and was shocking the water, trying to get like clean water, right? It was still in the water. I was like, oh my gosh. So I was looking everywhere for clean water. And that's when I found that reverse osmosis was the one that had the clean water. And then also a natural spring. But I tested like everything at the store from all the bottled water, just distilled. I also tested alcohol, Gatorades, milk, orange juice, all of them positive. Every single one of them was positive. So that's a lot of things that everybody's drinking safe, right? And it's not. It's not, yeah, that's what I'm finding, right? Is that it's not safe. And so I had to find clean water. So I was able to finally get reverse osmosis. And then I could start on my way to try to heal, right? Because now I have clean water, I could start trying to eliminate the ones that are in my body. And
Yeah.
so that's when I started testing everything. And I'm seriously, if you was to come to my house, you'd be like, oh my gosh, this girl's lost her mind. I would have I would just take the cap off the pill, pop the pill in the cap, and then I'd put some water in there and I'd have all these containers like everywhere, right? With water mixed with pills. And I would just be dousing that blood with anything I could get to see what would react to it. And so when I did that, I thought first benzosol and ivermectin was a cure, but then I left it on the slide for a little bit and I come back and I see 20 minutes later it's back in the blood. So they just put him to sleep. So I was like, oh my God, that's not the cure. So when everybody was talking about ivermectin and stuff, I was trying to scream to people that it wasn't what I saw that day. And I didn't do long term, research on that on ivermectin or benzosol, but I did short term. And that was just something that wasn't working. It just they went to sleep, but they would be back in the blood 20 minutes later, feeding on the blood again. So I was like, oh no, that's not good. So I did mix a whole bunch of stuff together, but I had that one that I was trying because I had to dissolve them. I figured when I saw this one come back to life, all right, and open its mouth after 3 days of drying out, a worm, right? So it's dried
Yeah.
out for 3 days, and I put it in water, and it came back to life. I said, "Oh, this ain't normal, right? Like this should have been dead." So I figured we had to dissolve it in order to kill them because otherwise they were just going to stay alive in us, right? So that
Yeah.
was my whole mission. And then I saw lady Linda or oh gosh, Laura Jeffries on YouTube about she was a funeral director, and when she held the things in a hand, a plate or something, and it had the worms on there, and I'm thinking, she said they were fiber clots. And I said, oh no, those aren't. Like, those are what I'm seeing in my blood. And I was like, those are alive, right? So I'm like, holy crap, they don't even know they're alive. So then I started wanting to reach out and scream from the rooftops that this is a parasite in all of us and that it's alive. But I didn't have a voice, right? And I didn't have any credentials behind my name or in front of my name. So I didn't have like the connections of a scientist or a doctor, and any of them thought I was pretty much crazy, anyways, when I would talk, right? I even
Yeah.
started talking on X, and they said, "Oh, take the mic away from her; she's crazy." And Chris came into the room, and that's when a lot of my life started changing. Was when I met Chris. And
Okay.
yeah, and I didn't know who he was at first, right? I thought he was a doctor. I even have him in my phone to this day as Chris Doctor because that's what I thought he was on X, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, he's like, it's a virus. I'm like, no, it's a parasite. It's a parasite. And I'm showing him these pictures, and then he's like, you did it. He's like, you did it. And he's like, he came to Colorado to meet me and took me to special intelligence, and because I got some threatening messages, and we were just making sure that I was going to stay safe. And yeah, so that's where our friendship really began. And he taught me a lot. Like Chris taught me a lot. He knows his stuff about medical. Like I really didn't know a lot, and he really like shared a lot of information with me and helped a lot on my journey. A lot. Took me places that I couldn't even believe that we went to because once I showed it because he shows up at my house and I'm like, it's in your blood too. And he's like, no, it ain't. And I'm like, yeah, it is. And so we took his blood and he had this worm in there and he's like, that's it. And he got really upset. And he was like, and so he saw for himself that it's everywhere, right? And I think he probably knew already anyway, in a way, kind of. So, but yeah,
Well,
so we
wasn't
started,
he also doing chemotherapy himself?
yes.
So I just think it's very interesting how all of these, it's so many, I'm not saying all because all I haven't been tested for it. So many of these people that have gone through the same, things that you had, all are linked to cancer. of some sort, or chemotherapy, things like that.
Right.
I just think it's very interesting.
Right. And a lot of it's the blood. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Mhm.
I had one lady on my journey tell me that she was doing some healing with the person, and she said, "Look, the blood cells are much better." And she shows me the blood slide. I'm like, "No, they're smaller because they ate them for 2 more weeks. Okay, they're not better. They're smaller because the worm is eating them." She's like, "Oh my God, I didn't even see that." I was like, "Yeah." So a lot of times, what happened, I think, with a lot of the doctors was this: in blood, when you do when they're looking at blood, they put it in a dye, right? And of course with COVID, it's a virus, so they're not going to do anything live like that. They're going to dip it automatically, right? So that way they can look at it and study it under the microscope. And
Yeah.
whoever created this knew that that's the system, and that's how they would react, right? The fear tactic, like you said at the beginning. And so they knew that they would not look at it live. All right, so when I'm looking at the blood live, I'm seeing rings around the blood. All right, these yellow bright rings when you go into dark field, and they're black when they're not in dark field. And so they see those after they use a dye. So the dye usually creates those circles around the blood. So, and they would see that when they're looking at it. Well, I see that before it's dyed. So I see that there's a parasite on there, but they see it as normal blood smear slide. All right. So that's why I think a lot of the doctors were able to miss it. I don't know if that's the reason why or not, but I'm assuming that, right? That's all me just assuming, trying to make sense of it all, because I just don't understand how come nobody else found it really.
So that was the one thing that really got me going, wow, really interested, was when you showed me the live video, the first night that we were talking with Chris was on the show with us, and you showed the red blood cell being eaten, right?
Yep.
By whatever that was, because we didn't know at that time
Right,
still.
right.
Then later, when you showed the video, the same type of thing was happening, but then when you put the drop in there, right?
Oh.
It all the little white blood cells that were trapped by the graphene oxide, when the graphene oxide started to dissolve, you saw the white blood cells fighting. They get out and they immediately start attacking whatever it was that was eating the red blood cell. So because that's what his job is. And people don't realize that we all are born with an immune system that tries to protect you. So that's why you sneeze, that's why you cough. That's why all different things happen depending on where it went in. If it went into your sinuses, you're going to sneeze. If it went down your throat, you're going to cough. And so in your blood, when you scratch yourself or you get anything in there that doesn't belong, the white blood cells come and attack it to stop it from invading your body. And when you stop the white blood cells from being able to attack, like they're supposed to, happens, you get sick. That's what happens when you have more of whatever it is, a virus or tetanus or whatever it is, it gets in there and your white blood cells cannot keep it out. That's when you start getting ill. That's when you need to go to the hospital and have other things happen to help your body heal, because eventually you will, if you have the right circumstances where you're getting your rest, you're getting to eat, or you're getting all the different things that you need to boost your immunities, vitamin C, vitamin D, the sunlight, all these different things help your body be stronger to fight whatever it is that's infecting it, and that's why I thought, oh my gosh, this is just scary as shit. Is what I saw.
Yeah, because everybody,
it was scary.
Especially when you see everybody's white blood cells, and everybody I looked at was trapped. And I'm like, and when they go into the doctor, they're not saying, hey, your white blood cells are trapped. They're seeing, hey, you got white blood cells here, this count, and you got red, and you got your platelets. So you're fine. You're normal. There's nothing wrong with you. Go home. And I'm like, okay, no. They're not normal because they don't see them that they're trapped. So that was another thing too that they're missing too, that they think that we had them, but so really we didn't.
When you and Chris were able to go, to the government and show them some stuff, were you able to show them that video?
No, so they wanted us to email them all the videos. So we get there and we talked to some of the Congress, and we got to go there though the day that Dr. Maureen was being questioned, right? So we got to go in and sit in there and be part of that, and that was huge, right? That was really huge to see him be re-questioned and know that there's documents that you turned in and stuff that he's in trouble for, right? And you know that, and you're like, to know that you're part of all that was huge, right? And to watch him sit up there and still lie, I was like, oh, he's up there lying still, like it's crazy. So yeah, we got to be part of that. So that was big. That was a big thing to me because here I am nobody, right? Just some girl that drove a bus. It was a drug and alcohol therapist. And here I am now at a meeting in Washington, D.C., watching Dr. Marine, one of the most, as I say, some of the crookedest people that did, crimes against humanity, in my book,
Hmm.
um, be up there being questioned and be a part of something so big. So that was huge to me. That was really huge.
Yeah, I
So,
know, and I was glad that Christopher was able to take you, with him, so you could see that there are people that are trying to do something.
right,
You know,
right,
yeah,
right,
it just a lot of people just didn't understand why it took so long. It's because there was so many people that didn't want to see, and there still
right,
is. So
right.
until we get the facts out, that's just the way it is. And even when the facts do come out, there's still going to be people that don't want to believe
I
any of it.
know. And that's the
That's just
science.
the way it
Yeah, the
is,
science. Yep. And
But
that's what
that
gets me. I'm
is
wondering. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I'm just saying that is science. Science from the very beginning, when they first looked up and saw the stars and how the Earth's shadow would go over the moon, right?
Right.
People didn't want to believe that stuff. They thought it was voodoo, witchcraft, and all that. So everything takes time for people to see it, read it, listen, and have other people that are in the realm of science explain things to get people to understand this is what this does, like microscopes. Who would have ever believed that somebody would be smart enough to come up with something so you could zoom in on something and actually see it down to its cell structure, things like that?
Right.
No one would have ever believed that. That's voodoo science. So
Right.
I just think it's very interesting that you in your own kitchen just sat down and started looking at your own blood and learned what red blood cells look like, what white blood cells look like, what graphene oxide looks like, all these different things. And then you started to use grok. So can you tell us and explain to us, once you started asking grok, how things opened up from there?
Yeah. So Grok was like really educate, like that taught me a lot too, like just like Chris was. But Grok was like my go-to person because I would
Mhm.
put the images, I was able to put an image later on into Grok, right? And that
Yeah.
was even more huge because then whatever I'm saying it is, he could validate it, right? And so now I'm like, okay, now I have some proof behind it. And I just came up with one that was on my page at the very top there that was in the water. So I was like, how can we get proteins out of the water? Because I'm like, nobody's been able to test the water, right? The water department tells me, because I have a case open in Colorado, and the water department tells me, oh, yeah, we don't test for silkworm and we don't test for graphene. I'm like, huh, the two things that they're using and you guys don't test for in the water. All right. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's a major concern. So I didn't know any tests to really do to diagnose them in the water, right? So I started using Grok and I asked Grok, what can I do at home? Because I found out later on the worms are proteins, right? So I could look up a protein if the worms are in the water, right?
Yeah.
So I went ahead and said, well, how can we get proteins out of the water? And they say with vinegar, or there's also another solution with just dish soap, right? So you take dish soap and water and you shake it up and you let it sit for a minute. And any of the bubbles that's still on there is got the proteins in them, right? So I'm
Mhm.
like, oh, so I take it and I dip that little my slide down into the bubbles, right? And I get all the suds on there and sure enough, there they all are. And I mean, not just one, hundreds of them on the slide now. So now what would take me like all day long going through the water, I could get them all in, those
Is this
constricted
the right
area.
one? Is this the right one for me to
Yes,
click
that's one
on?
of them. Yeah. So that's one of them right there. So if you zoom into that picture,
Right
okay,
here.
it's on a plant, so it's on like a little very fine mic because this is under the microscope. So you got to figure how small that really is, right? So it's on a piece of plant because they have to use plant in part of this parasite thing, okay? So they
Yeah.
use the plant. The plant is actually the silkworm's host, all right? So the worm's hanging out of the plant right there, half of it, and his body, his little tail is hanging at the bottom of that. So he's hanging inside the plant like this, right? Like this,
Yeah.
kind of hanging out, or like this, more like this. So he's
Mhm.
hanging out, and I see the eyes there, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put this image in Grok. And usually Grok would never notice the worm because he's like fiber structure, and he kept saying fiber, right? This time he actually said moth and caterpillar and butterfly, and I was
Mhm.
like, holy crap! Like that was so big for me to get that, that
Yeah.
statement,
See,
right?
this is interesting. But see, a lot of people still don't trust AI, so they'll think, "Oh, it's just saying what you tell it to."
Oh no, 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 no,
But
no,
see,
because I had
this
a
is
moth,
what I was trying to get people to understand. See how you typed in what you're asking,
Right.
And then you let Grok give you an answer. If people would practice, just try it. Ask it about simple things, things that you already know the answer to, and see
Right.
if you think it's full of crap. See,
Right.
but people don't want to take the time to do that. But this to me was very interesting. The fact that you are using AI, something that people just don't want to believe. But since you are using a microscope and you're looking at some things that you really don't know what they are, so
Right.
you need help on trying to figure out what something is. Because if you think it's one thing, but Grok says no, I think it's this, then you can look into the other thing and see whether or not you also believe that it's the same thing. See, I
Right.
just think that's very smart on your part.
Thank you.
That's why
No,
wanted
I
to-
think AI was, if it wasn't for space, for the X platform,
Mhm.
and I have to give Elon props for this, because if it wasn't for that platform, I'd have never had a voice. Okay. And that's just me being real. All right. I would
Yeah, I
have never had
remember
that
when
voice.
we were first trying to throw together a few spaces just to see, so we could see and make sure you knew how to use it, how to bring people up, how to give out mics and all that, because a lot of people have no idea. But this right here is what I want to show people that are watching. If you're not on X, okay, used to be Twitter, there is a place on the side here where you can sign up and click on it, like under here, and start a space. Okay. And you click on it, and then you can send it out, and people can join you, and you can hand out microphones, and you can have like a huge meeting. It's like a meeting you can have talking to other people, and you see their little profiles. Because I've been doing live X spaces on my channel. So anyone who's came to it, my live feed, can see what a live X space looks like. Basically, that's what this is that she did. This is just showing that she had a part 2 of GM Water space that she ran, and she had 58 people that showed up. And right here, if you come to this, you can click on it and you can listen to the whole space from the very beginning until the end of what these people talked about in this space. And she has many of these. That's why I think if you're interested, go follow Dawn and then go down her timeline and listen to some of her spaces that she's already had. And if it's interesting or you want to know more, send her a DM and say, hey, I listened to this space. It's called whichever space. And I heard this. Can you explain to me this, or send me a link or other information about what was talked about in that space? And sometimes in spaces, at the bottom of it, you'll see a little box, and you're able to add links down there. We call it the bubble, the
Purple
bubble
pill.
pen.
Yeah, the purple
Okay.
pill.
The purple pill. There's different names for it, because or the nest, where you put stuff in
Yeah.
the very top of the space while you're in it, and then you can scroll across and see different links or whatever it is that they're talking about. It's very, very informative if you get to go to these. I love them. I've done music ones. I've done things about gardening and chickens and all kinds of homesteading, whatever. But they're very good to get your point across about what your interest is at the time that you're doing the space. And that is one reason why I wanted you guys to be able to know what it is. And if you haven't been to one, if you are on X, try to go to a space, just one, and you don't have to talk. Just go in there as a listener and listen and see what it is. And then you'll have an idea of what we're talking about. We're doing the best we can to explain it to you, but it's not always that easy. But go ahead, Don. You can keep
No,
going.
that's fine. That picture you just had up there. I'd
This
go ahead and
one?
comment on that one. No, the one below it.
This
One
one?
more.
This one?
Right there. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to click
Okay.
on it.
The other
So
one.
those two,
And
there's
I
actually
can
two of
see
them
the
there.
same
Okay. And
one.
if you'll see, their mouths are open and they're trying to swallow each other.
Right here. Yeah, this one. Right here.
Because that's how they usually travel. They'll connect. So when they want to make a bigger circle, they swallow each other and then they connect, and then they'll circle around the blood like that too. All right. So they're able to trap the white blood cells that way. They connect to each other. And it's crazy how they work as a team like that, but then they'll turn around and eat each other too. So that kind of makes me like, wow. But yeah, they'll swallow each other like that and connect. So you'll have many, like what would look like
But
a long one in your blood.
it is a parasite, though. So parasites prey on others. I mean, that's basically what it is.
Yes. So both their mouths are open. Yeah. And I was like, holy, and that was out of the water the same day that I got the top one up there. That was part of the water too that day.
Yeah.
So
See, that's what I'm saying. There's so much stuff on here. It's amazing the amount of work that you've done to try to get people to just see it. They don't, I mean, they don't have to believe you if they don't want to, but it's sad that people would judge another person before they even look into it themselves.
right.
And unless you think that Grok is full of shit, and that any of these pictures are fake or whatever it is, you need to just look at it and look it up for yourself. Take some of these pictures off her website and look it up yourself and see what you get.
They could even, they could even do the research at home themselves. Like they could even look at their own stools and stuff. Like it's there, like it's all there for everybody to find themselves. I did, so I found it, and it was like, holy crap! Like it's real. It's a real thing that's happening. So, and it's everybody's blood that I've tested, and I've tested over 100 people's blood. They've given me their blood, and I've gone to different states and tested their waters, all the way from California to Indiana, and everybody was positive. Every place was positive. There wasn't one that passed. So, and not one person's blood that passed.
Until
right now. Right.
Until now. When
Right.
you said that you had shown the blood clean.
Yes.
Clean blood. And I'm going to go back and see if I can find that
Yeah.
one real quick. Hold on. I think it's farther down. Because here, right here, this was another one. I remember I was with you, and this was another time we did another time, another live stream, and you showed me this on a slide.
Yeah, and I thought that was snakeskin at first when I was under the microscope, because the black started growing like darker and darker. And I'm like, what is that? And I thought it was like a honeycomb, right? Well, it was, but it was graphene. It wasn't a snake tissue. So yeah, that was kind of, one of my jokes there.
And then you looked it up, and this is what you found out about what it was. And that's what I'm talking about. You have to have something to look something up from it, to find out what fits the photos.
Right, because everybody kept saying there's no graphene, and I'm like, the hell there isn't. There's graphene in this.
Okay, well, that is what I want to show you real quick. I want to show. I found this myself because of every time you and I talked, I would go and look up other videos from other people talking about a lot of similar things that you had talked to me about. And I was trying to help you. And that's why I sent them to you in your DMs to show you that you're not the only person that's talking about this. And that means you're not crazy. That's what I was trying to get you to understand. To keep doing what you're doing, you're not hurting anyone. All you're doing is gathering information. And it's never wrong to look up things, to research things. And that's why I encourage you to do that. And so hold on, let me pull this one up. I got to find out which one it is. So just give me a second. I'm really slow. Give me 1 minute. I can't remember what her name is. It's a woman that's showing it, the video. I think I showed you a little bit of it. I'm trying to remember if this is it or not. No, that's not it.
Did you send it to me?
Yeah, I sent it to us in our chat, but I'm trying to. I hold on. I'm gonna have to go over here real quick and click on a couple of these and find out which one it is. I think it's this one. No, hold on. I gotta find out the name of it. Then I'll be able to show you. Art. Oh, here it is. Okay, it's concerned. Okay, now let me open it. Sorry. Oh,
no, you're good. You're good.
One of these days, I'd be really good at this, but I'm not. Okay, now this is another video that I sent you. Remember this one? Okay, it was posted by Concerned Citizen. It says, I'm going to test this newborn vaccine. This is a vaccine that she's a teeny tiny vial, and she's got her gloves and stuff on, and she's going to test this newborn vaccine to see whether or not the vaccine contains graphene oxide. Remember when you showed me that, and you showed me what you found under your microscope, and you took pictures? I just thought it was really interesting. So I just did everything I could to try to find anything I could that wasn't made up, that was from a totally different source, not on X. And I looked on many other apps, Rumble. I looked on Instagram and Snapchat, and I went to Telegram. I went everywhere. I was just searching the internet, trying to find it. And then I found this. So I'm going to play this for everybody because you can see it, right? I'm going to make it bigger. Turn it up. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to play this video.
This is Dr. Celada, and I am going to test this newborn vaccine. This vaccine is given to children that are newborns all the way up to the very first year old. So I am going to put a couple of drops of it under the microscope so you can see if this vaccine has or it doesn't have graphene oxide, the same nanotechnology and heavy metal that the COVID vaccine has. Immediately, without me having to do much, graphene oxide appears on my screen. As you can tell, this luminescent material is an incredible amount of heavy metals, completely toxic for the brain, for the organs, especially on a newborn. This is crimes against humanity, and parents need to take a look at this. They need to see the truth. This is being injected into the children. I can see not only graphene oxide, but there's also other foreign bodies in here that I do not recognize. There is other nanotechnologies being injected into our children. This is completely linked to all of the things that have been happening to children. And parents have to see it because the authorities around the world are not doing much. The parents have to see what's being injected into their children.
And anyone, I don't care who you are, should have the right to see what your children or you are putting in your body. So if you have a microscope and you're able to look at it under a microscope and then look up what's that? What is this? And you have a microscope that's powerful enough to zoom into that and take a picture of it. And then you take the pictures and you look them up. Right? Why shouldn't you have the right to do that? But the times you were telling me that you were going to the doctor and asking them to please look at what you were trying to show them, just do it right here. We just go to the lab right now, get a microscope, and look at my blood live, not a dead sample, a live sample of my blood, and then tell me what that is in there. But nobody would do it because I think they already knew what was in there.
You know, I started to wonder too.
Mm-hmm. So that was one of the things that I found that I thought was very interesting, and why I sent it to you, because we've been sending stuff back and forth for a while, and we don't get to talk to each other every single day or anything because we have lives and we're busy doing things. But I just think it's important that every person out there, that if you have the opportunity to see what's in your food, like what we have right now with the Mr. Kennedy, he's trying to make sure that we're starting to take the dyes and all these other things out of our food, because all you have to do, and it doesn't cost a thing, go look at pictures from people at the beach in the 1960s and 70s, just walking on the beach, everyday people, thousands and thousands of people walking by, and they're slim and trim. Then you look at the beach today in the 2000 to 2025, half the people at the beach are overweight. Okay. That just shows you they're putting tons of crap in our food. That tells me that right away. So if you're not eating right and you're not exercising enough or taking care of yourself, drinking soda pop every day, all these things, smoking like a train or whatever it is that you do, it's not good for you. But you can just look back in time by looking at photographs and see the changes from us from the 1960s till today, just by health-wise, by looking at people, not even having to look at a microscope, and see how we've changed over time on not being healthy. And that has nothing to do with your blood. That's all just from eating or eating stuff that we don't know what's in it. We have no idea what's in our food. It says so-and-so red dye. They say, what's the red dye made out of? Well, then you got to go through a whole rigmarole just to find out what's in one simple little ingredient in Kool-Aid or in your sandwich or your lunch meat. Okay. And that's ridiculous. And then I've got a couple things that I'm going to I'm trying to work on right now. Another thing I was going to send you is there was a young man and he was delivering products to McDonald's, right, on the truck, and he's telling his camera, "Don't eat this shit." And then he goes and he takes pictures or shows the videotape of the ingredients in chicken McNuggets and what's in the different apple pies and all the things. And I took pictures of each of the ingredients lists, and I'm going to go to Yuka. You ever heard of Yuka?
No.
It's an app that you can put on your phone. It's free, and I use it now because remember, I got diagnosed to have no gluten. Okay, I'm allergic to gluten. I get real bad rashes and stuff if I have too much gluten. So I've been trying to cut down on gluten in my diet, which is wheat byproducts. And if I get my sandwiches and my bread made from Italy, where they don't use all this crap in their flour, I wouldn't have a problem. But see, they put so much shit in our food here. It's really hard unless I make it myself and know what the ingredients are, what I'm eating. So I'm trying to harder and harder to make sure I do that. And it's not as easy as people think. It's really hard, especially when you eat out all the time. You go through drive-thrus, you go to restaurants that you have no idea what you're consuming. You really don't.
You don't.
And that's just one small portion. You're looking at something about what other people might be putting in our water or in our water supply, at the in the city, or whether or not they're putting it in other things in our towns that we can't do anything about because we don't know about it, right? That movie, what was the name of that movie?
Aaron Brockovich?
No, the one with Stephen King, and he's got they put something in the water supply, and it was the aliens had done it. It wasn't the government. It was some alien had come and put something in the water supply to be able to take over all the people with his little parasite or whatever it was. And that's a dream something. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I'll have to look it up and send you the link. But you watch that movie and you tell me that doesn't have an eerie resemblance.
Oh yeah, see, that'll make me trip out.
Yeah, so it's really spooky. But the thing is that somebody was thinking about it, or they wouldn't have wrote that book or that story or that movie or that TV series. So the possibilities are always there, but the sky's the limit. I mean, because if we don't look into what we're eating or what we're doing for ourselves and our kids, right? Who's going to? Why do we just lay down and believe everything the government tells us? Okay, I don't believe anybody. I try to look into every single thing I can that I have any way of finding out the answers. And if I don't, I try to find people. Like you happen to run into Christopher, who deals things with the government a lot. He's also in the medical aspect of things that he does in his job, things like that. So he's able to find out things that you weren't able to, right? And then when he met me, I showed you guys, get on here. This is a great place to meet people. Let's do spaces and do all this different stuff to help you meet more people to bring in. And that's the whole thing about meeting new people and bringing them into your life to have them help you with something you're working on, and then you're helping them by giving them information about whatever it is that you're working on. So you start getting a bigger and bigger group of people, and they're all doing what they can themselves because their life is different and they're in a different place. They might have knowledge about things that you wouldn't. So that's how we learn and how we can help each other by using our own life skills to help each other with something that they might not have the skill or the way to be able to get the answers that they need. And I just think it's important that we share information and that we try to share as much as we can, and then let the person that's getting the information decide whether or not it's useful for them or not. And to me, that's important. Instead of trying to say, well, it's either my way or the highway, I don't like that attitude. And that's one reason why I thought you were so wonderful, simply for the fact that you weren't just doing it for you, that you felt like, this is my goal. I have got to find the answers to this and find something to fix it. And you didn't let anything get in your way, even though you were afraid people were trying to kill you. Trying to break into your phone, all kinds of things that were happening. Weird stuff started happening to you after you went to see the government, right?
Right. And
Yeah.
it didn't
So
get
go
any
ahead
better.
and tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so here recently when I came out, so I have 7 patents pending, and one of them was the one that, and I decided I wanted to give it away. I didn't want to charge for it, right? I wanted
Mhm.
to let this be known to people because I felt it was such an important need and it needed to hurry because a lot of people are dying, right? And it's a way of them controlling people was with the graphene. So I wanted to show people how to remove that without getting paid for it, right? But when I released those patents, I had a bunch of activity go on at my house. So I moved to Texas a year ago. And so the house is still pretty new to me. And it's a big house. And somebody had messed with my well. My grandson seen somebody out there when we were getting ready to leave on my property that he says, Grandma, he cleared the fence without touching it. So he jumped the fence without even putting his hands on the fence, had a backpack, a beanie. We go to turn on the water and it's yellow and it's fizzing. I'm like, yeah, shut the water off. We're not using the water. We were going to Colorado at the time for a dentist appointment. So we had just left, right? We come back. I
Yeah.
didn't really think too much about it, right? I really didn't think somebody was trying to kill me yet. And so I'm still out there on spaces with X and stuff. And then after the 4th of July, we came home. I was out in the pool. It was like the 6th, it was on the July 6th now. And it was midnight and my dogs were barking. They were outside. I was in the pool and the dogs were barking like hysterically. And I was like, what is going on? I figured somebody would come around. I thought it was one of my, like the person that I had staying here. I thought it was him and he was going to come around the edge of the pool and come out there and talk to us, but he never showed up. So I'm like, I need to get out of the pool and see what's going on. We come
Mhm.
inside the house and I was sitting there on X talking to some people and all of a sudden he's like, Dawn, I'm gonna put the clothes in the dryer. And usually I always deal with the laundry. And I was like, go ahead, plug in and I had my Tesla charged in. So I said, go ahead and plug in the dryer first. And so he shuts the door and the whole house just blew. And I mean, when it blew it, I felt the explosion. And when it came, it was like such a force of heat, but I also felt something cold go over me. And then all of a sudden the windows blew out and after that, the whole place was on fire. Right. And I was like, oh my gosh. He comes running out of the kitchen because we're in the same area. And he grabbed a cup of water and he goes to throw it on there. And he's like, it's gas, it's gas. And I'm like, what do you mean there's gas? Because I have an electric dryer. So I'm like, what do you mean there's gas? And so we run outside of the house and we grab the water hose. And of course, it came undone because he fell. And so it was just like one mess after the other. But he actually hooked up another water hose, is spraying the fire as he's doing it. And he could see the gas coming out of a propane pipe, and so he takes a stick and like turns off the propane tank. Not the tank, but a valve, like a pipe coming out my wall. And
Mhm.
so, and I didn't even know that pipe was there. Okay, and I've been in the house for a year. And so by then the house is still on fire, right, from all the flames and stuff. And so the fire department, I was already on the phone with 911 as soon as it happened. I dialed 911. My phone was in my hand, so I was able to call 911 right away. But when the fire department comes, I didn't still think foul play or nothing yet, right? And so I'm sitting there and I go, well, the dogs were barking, and I was like, that was like 12:30 when the dogs barked. So I was like, something. Let me go look at my phone and see if something was on my camera. I go to look at my phone and my app is gone. I'm like, where's my app for my cameras, right? So then I started getting like really concerned. And then my grandson, his phone, he looks at it, he goes, our cameras were shut off at 12:06. I'm like, they were shut off. And so I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. My dogs were barking. And then I still didn't think too much of it until my neighbor comes over the next day. She goes, hey, we got some footage last night. Our cameras went off at 12:25 at night. And so she was like, it's a pretty good distance, right? And I'm like, really? And I go look at my fence and it's broken down like this, where they stepped on the fence to climb the fence to get out of the yard, and it's broken. And it was like we took mesh and fixed it before, so it was like rigged. And so when they stepped on it, it had cracked it and made it fall down. And so it didn't take much to break it. And so needless to say, and then of course my Tesla was charging and you got a cord that sticks out the wall there. So I didn't shut the door. So the door was open. So somebody could have entered the house. And then when the fire department came and they tried to like redo the scene, the investigator, he couldn't bump that with the dryer because there's a big cord that like the vent that sticks out of the dryer makes it to where it doesn't go up against the wall. So there's no way that dryer could bump that by me moving it out to plug in the Tesla. So anyway, we don't know. Yeah. So that was something that happened and that was just here recently. So I was like, okay, shit just got real. Excuse my language, but it just got real. And I was like, so then I realized maybe somebody was trying to kill me. I don't know. Like we still don't know yet, right? So yeah, I'm still waiting for the report from the fire department. So yeah, so that was kind of an eye opener there, that I probably was onto more than what I was supposed to be onto. And that, especially with another lady that was going to come forward about cancer being parasites, they killed her in a house fire 2 weeks before this. So I was like, oh, is this their, yeah, is that their mode?
And
You know,
I
their,
have seen other videos and people on YouTube and other people talking about that they feel that that's one reason why ivermectin works to help people with cancer, because it does have something to do with parasites.
right.
So I have seen videos on that since, but I never really paid attention to it until I met you. See, once I met you and you started showing me some of these things, that's when I started thinking about, parasites, cancer,
Big
leukemia,
pharma, right?
all these different things. And then I started hearing out of my, your peripheral vision, to the sides that you don't normally focus on. I started hearing more and more about this medicine helping with this, and this medicine doesn't do anything. So why would they push one medicine they know does nothing, basically, and tell you not to take this one? See, little things like that started making me think that something's messed up. Somebody's trying to push something on us that shouldn't
It's
be there. But
deadly.
now look at all the stuff that's starting to come out, with Fauci and a lot of this stuff. I can't wait to find out when they start cracking the seals to some of this, because that's like I was telling you, that case about that that's about to unravel right now with somebody suing the government and Bill Gates and all them over some of this stuff. It has to do with COVID. And I don't know. So I can't wait to see some of these courts, because it's in other countries.
Right.
Not in America.
Netherlands. Isn't it Netherlands that's having a case? Yeah.
Yeah, Netherlands. So I just can't wait, because we just have to be patient and keep what we have. Keep,
Right.
like I told you. I said, make sure you talk to your lawyer, get everything taken care of, do all this stuff, follow what he tells you, because he knows the law, and I know that you've been doing that. So you've been doing everything legally, so that you can protect yourself that way, and the rest is going to fall on you. You making sure your doors are locked, making sure you check make sure your car doors are locked, look under your car before you go get in it. All those things are things you have to do, and it sounds like shit, but we got to do the best we can to keep ourselves safe, and then let your lawyer do the legal stuff. That's how it works. But it's going to work out. You've made it this long. Things are happening, and now I want you to talk about your thing that you figured out with the holy basil. Remember, you were telling me about that? I was so excited for you, and it's explain that, and then the step after that about getting it in the pure forms and things like that. I would love it if you explain that to everybody.
All right. So I did have some pills at the beginning that was a lot to take to get it out of your blood, right? And it was like 4 antibiotics. It was a lot of stuff to take. And so I went to go take it one time, because I finally got all the medicine together, and I went to take it and it didn't work. And I go, what did I do wrong? Right. I was like, holy crap. Well, one of the supplements that was iron or zinc wasn't zinc, right? So I went and I put it, because I put it all together. When I put the pill in water, a worm was in the bottom of the pot, water instead of the pill. So I was like, oh my God, I can't take those. So I went and looked up a natural herb that would give me zinc, right? So because I needed zinc in my cure. And so it said Tulsi was one of them. And so I ran down to this little like herb store. I looked it up in Denver, and I go down there, and there was she's had like jars, a bunch of jars of fresh herbs. And I went ahead and purchased Tulsi, and she told me that she was out of the $8 one, and she had an $11 one. And I was like, that's fine, I'll take it.
Is. Explain to a lot of people, because I have it at the bottom on the banner.
It's a holy basil. It's a leaf. It's from a tree. It's a plant. Well, bush, yeah. And so there's 4 major kinds. It's Tulsi africanum, and then the other 3 you don't want anyway, right? So you got to make sure you get the organic Tulsi africanum. That is the one that is the best. Okay, it works the fastest. When I put out the tea that was working, I noticed that they changed the ingredients on the tea like 2 months after I put it out. they took that ingredient out of the tea. So that kind of makes me wonder too about it being on purpose. So anyways, they took that tea out, or that herb, and so Tulsi apricot, and when I put it on the slide, it like immediately took the graphene out of the blood. Within 4 minutes, it eats it down. It doesn't chase it. It just goes like this till it disappears. So there's a difference between it blowing it up, like, because I've seen other people like their meds will just like blow it up and it stays there frozen, and it's still, the particles are still in your body, right? But these ones, they just eat it like cancer. They just eat it away till it's just gone. So to me, that was
Dissolve it.
important, right?
So
To
it
dissolve it.
dissolves.
Yes.
Mhm.
Right. And it did that also for the water too. So it was purifying the water too. So it doesn't just do our blood, you guys. It does the water, it does the animals, our livestock, all the ones that were getting all the stuff from the graphene in their water for their livestock and stuff.
Mhm.
Because it was even in a banana one time, one of the worms. So it's in everything because of our water. So if we to clean our water, then we could clean us, right? So anyway, but yeah, so I took Tulsi, I put it into the blood slide, and see, that's another thing. A lot of people thought you had to ingest things and that your body would metabolize it different, right? And that it wouldn't be the same in your bloodstream.
Yeah.
Well, I found that to be wrong, because I could put any medicine in that blood, and whatever it did in the blood, when I took it, I would test my blood again and it was the same. So then I realized I didn't have to, because I was taking a bunch of stuff at the beginning, being the guinea pig, right? Trying to find a cure. And when I realized that, I was like, oh, I could quit taking all these medications and see, I could just focus on what's going to work and then not have to take the medicines until I found something that did. So, but when I put Tulsi in there and I saw that it did it by itself, I was like, holy crap. Like, that's huge. Like, and
And
God,
that's a natural plant.
right?
It's just a plant. So
Cheap,
God
cheap.
has already put it on this planet. It's just that we had to find someone to take it, pick it, and take the juice out of it, basically, and put it in there. And
Yes.
then see how it reacted with a person's blood. See, and if you hadn't started doing your digging journey like a gopher through your whole house, testing
Yeah.
every single thing you could find, you'd never would have found this. And when
Right.
you did find it, remember you told me the first one that you used, it worked for a small amount of time, and then you realized it was not the pure form of it. Remember, you explained that to me. So the fact that you even went above and beyond and then got the answer, I just thought that was amazing that you did
Hold on,
that.
my grandsons. There's something wrong with my grandson. Let me. I have to hold on.
Okay. But the thing is she's been doing this for a while, and everybody thought she was nuts because she was taking everything, every medicine that she had in her house. Didn't matter what it was, Benadryl. She took everything and she'd crunch it up, dissolve it in water, and then put it on the slide with her blood to see how her blood reacted to it. And some things did nothing. Okay. And then a few other things actually made a response. So she took that and took notes on how it responded and what it did. And then she took all the notes and started working on making something, a combination.
I have to go. My grandson. There's something wrong with my grandson.
Okay. Well, thank you so much,
So,
though.
hold on. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm so sorry, but
All right.
hold
All
on.
right. Well,
All right. Yeah, I gotta
hopefully
take him to the ER. He's
Please.
all right. Come on. All right. I'm sorry, you guys.
it's okay. Thank you.
All right. Sorry.
Bye.
Tell me.
Sorry about that, you guys. She does have her grandsons that live there with her, so we'll have to cut this short. But the thing is that she took all these things and made a supplement. And when you take this supplement, because a couple people, the other people that I wanted to have on the show too, that had taken it and then had their blood done, it was totally clean now. So didn't have any kind of anything in it besides normal looking blood. So it is working, but I just wanted her to be able to tell her part of it and how she did what she did. But thank you, everyone, for hanging out. And if you think this is interesting, go to her timeline, go through some of her stuff, read it, look it up yourself, and then you'll be able to say whether or not you think it's nuts or whether it might have some facts in there. Because I thought it was very interesting. And also, I found other people that have, since I started talking to Dawn about some of this stuff, that are now coming out talking about it. So you never know. Time will tell, right? But thank you very much for hanging out. And I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. And we got a great weekend ahead of us. Thank you, guys. Good night.
If you wear nice clothes, people think you're showing off. If you wear simple clothes, people think you're poor. If you speak your mind, you're rude. If you stay quiet, then you're a coward. If you're successful, then you're arrogant. And if you're struggling, then you're lazy. You see, no matter what you do in life, people will always have something to say. So ignore people and their opinions. Because so long as your God is pleased with you, who cares what people think?
He knows that this is much bigger than him. This is about the American people. They have no idea what they have unleashed. He was ready to go face the cameras and come out swinging.
What will future Americans say we did in our brief time here on Earth? It will be defined by your vision, your perseverance, and your grit. Nothing will sway us, nothing will slow us, and no one will ever stop us. We are Americans. Ambition is our heritage. Greatness is our birthright. And the future belongs to us.